apology, still everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body, 'cause it's begging me to cheat. Begging me to cheat. You will see just how perfect I can.
What is going on, guys? Happy Friday to every single person in here. Hopefully everybody's looking forward to the weekend. I know I am, because there is a ton of DFS this weekend, mainly esports. But certainly on Sunday, we will be having NASCAR. Hopefully I can hop on live stream and break that down. Now, just from a technical data perspective, just on NASCAR, I'm not as advanced as I am these other sports, so I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I can talk about leverage. And on Patreon, I'll be covering NASCAR, of course. Also, guys, real quick, if the live stream does go down, just hit the big refresh button right in the top of your page, and you guys will be right back in. I promise it won't will freeze on you, and if you just refresh the page, you'll be fine. All right. I don't know why it does that. It's just a glitch in the system. I don't know if it's my internet. I don't know. I have no idea. But nonetheless, you guys will be back in. So who's excited today for this COD slate? If you guys could spam the chat with some of your favorite plays, I'm very curious. Individual plays, maybe team stacks. I'm very curious because this slate is without Atlanta FaZe. What are we going to do? We're not going to be able to stack Atlanta FaZe. I mean, come on. I'm lost. I'm like a lost puppy. No, I have a direction, guys. For our Patreon members, I gave an exact direction. For some of you, for everybody, have the exact stacks. But I'm going to talk about just a general overview and basically answer any questions that we have about Call of Duty. Call of Duty is one of the video games I've played literally my entire life up to this point. So very fun, very entertaining, very high pace, high octane kind of game. It definitely is different from your CSGOs of the world, from your League of Legends even. They're all very entertaining to watch, but Call of Duty, I think, just takes it to another level. If you can actually understand it, if you've watched Call of Duty, if you watched some Warzone, I'm just going to read some of these answers here to my original question. Dylan Captain, that's contrarian. I don't hate it, though. Octane, okay. Dashy season. It's always Dashy season, man. He's been killing it. Dashy has been absolutely killing it. Same thing with Slasher. Those two guys, that duo on that team, unfortunately carries the team a little too much, but they are absolutely phenomenal players. So, all right, so we are increasing in viewers, guys. Like I said, if this stream does freeze, no, it's not my fault. It's probably the internet. Just refresh the page, refresh. What's going on, guys? Hopefully everybody's having a great weekend. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. So for Call of Duty, we have a best of 5, okay? It's always a best of 5 for these tournaments. By the way, a $3 million prize pool was just announced for the champion by the end of the season. I don't know if the pandemic had anything to do with that, but they have enough viewership now where they can increase the prize pools. This is the biggest in Call of Duty history, so Call of Duty is here to stay. Just a huge, very big news for Call of Duty. So let's look at the odds here. So for like I said, it's a best of 5. You want to target closer matchups. The reason for it is because they have a greater chance to go to a game 4 or 5. The way that it works, it goes hardpoint, search and destroy, domination. Hardpoint, search and destroy. Why that is significant is because teams and players score generally on average more points on hardpoint than in search and destroy. And same thing with domination. Okay, domination, it goes hardpoint is the highest scoring. Next, it's going to be domination. And then last but not least, it's going to be search. But it's pretty significant. The pricing is, or the scoring for Draftkings is actually pretty broken. I'm not a fan of it, but I am in the sense that it gives us an edge, because what people tend to do is they tend to overreact on the closer matchups now. In the very first week, it was taking the heavy favorite, which actually screwed a lot of people. But now it's taking the closer matchups. If you guys remember 2 weekends ago, Minnesota and Florida squared off. They were the closest matchup. It was literally like a virtual toss-up as far as the odds. Minnesota went on 3-0 them, and it literally screwed about half the lineups. More than half, probably. So, because everybody stacked the Minnesota and Florida game. Well, that's why you shouldn't overreact to the odds. I'm going to show you real quick, okay, why that is the case. So let's look at the Chicago Huntsmen and Paris Legion. First of all, quick fun fact. Paris Legion has never been 3-0'd. If a team 3-0's, you're screwed, okay? If you played anybody from either one of those teams. But Paris has never been 3-0'd. If we look at this, the over-under, I'm going to go ahead and highlight it here, okay? If you guys look at my mouse, the over-under is at 3.5. It's a minus 200 chance to get to a fourth game. It's a best of 5, the fourth game. So minus 200 chance. Let's go to our betting calculator. Minus 200 converts to a 66.7% chance. So you're telling me the highest favorited matchup on the entire slate still has a 66.7% chance to go to game 4 or 5. Okay, you also have to consider that the ownership will probably be lower on the teams like Chicago Huntsmen and Paris just because of the heavier matchup. And it's going to make those players under-owned. Okay, if you look at these teams down here, Minnesota and Optic, this is a plus 160 chance to go under 5 games. Thank you, Carlitos, for the subscription. Really appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. The cheat sheet is posted on my Patreon, guys. You just have to scroll down a little bit further. I updated it earlier than the week, so it's like from Tuesday or something. All right, so let's look at this. Plus 160. Optic Gaming in Minnesota have a plus 160 chance, which is a 38.5% chance to go under game 5. So if you think about it, they have a greater chance to probably go the game 3 or 4 than they do to go to a game 5. It's not that close of a matchup. So what we're going to take away from this, my little rant here, my recommendation, don't read into the matchups too much. Read into it to the point to where you can gauge where the chalk is going to be and where the ownership is going to be, but don't put all your eggs into the basket of Minnesota or Optic just because it's the closest matchup, not only because the ownership will be higher, but because of the volatility. And quite frankly, the odds show that it's really not that big of a difference from Chicago Huntsmen, Paris, and then Optic and Minnesota. Does that make sense? Are we on the same page here? So you're saying you like Chicago for GPP, correct? I am saying that they will be lower owned. Chicago, and I'm about to bring up all the stats here. By the way, I got a hate comment in my YouTube video. It's okay. I gave EasyMac a lot of credit. This is a phase data scientist that FaZe hired to crack down all of these stats. Okay, this is to break them down. This is his sheet. Literally, I just copied it over, but here on the bottom of the tab, I have my leverage calculations. I don't just use his page for making my recommendations. So shout out to EasyMac. If you guys need his Twitter, again, I'll post it. If you just look up Easy_Mac, he posts all of this data. There's no public data for competitive anyway for Call of Duty. So this is his spreadsheet that I'm using. However, I use his spreadsheet and then calculate my own ownership projections and also my leverage and my actual physical DK projections, okay? But I do use him for my focal point of doing that. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, so now that we got the Vegas odds out of the way, let's just go down the list real quick. We have Chicago Huntsman, biggest favorite. Paris Legion, biggest underdog. London Royal Ravens, minus 280 versus LAG. Pretty decently close. And then Optic against Minnesota, minus 170. And Optic Gaming LA, plus 125. We have the Seattle Surge, plus 300. And the Subliners, minus 475. Again, a decently favored matchup for the New York Subliners. And also keep in mind that this game is projected to go over 4 games as well, even more so than the Chicago Huntsmen. All right. So we want to target closer matchups for cash, okay, just because of the ownership. Now, we want to, overall, for GPP and for cash, you have to target the good respawn teams. What respawn means is hardpoint domination, the games where you physically get up and you respawn. If you play Call of Duty, you understand what that means. But it's your fast-paced game types that are going to accrue the most DK points. We know that hardpoint generally scores the most. We know that domination also scores the second most, okay? So you want teams that are really good in those two categories. And physical players, obviously. Okay, but generally if a team is good at hardpoint, then all their players are somewhat good, right? And you obviously want to target the 2 best players. Now let's talk about stacking. The optimal lineup 2 weekends ago was a 2-2-1-1. The 1 being team off, or a 1 team off. And you can do a 2-2-2 stack. The team slot really doesn't matter. If we're just talking about players, it's a 2-2-1. Okay, that is the optimal. Usually, unless there's 2 matchups that go 3-0-3-0, then it's going to be 3-2, okay? Most likely, if all matchups go 3-0, which is highly unlikely, then it's going to be a 2-2-1 again. I feel like Chicago, especially with Pristini, is so balanced and hard to pick out individual players. Yes, that is true. That is definitely true. good point. Now, you also have to keep in consideration that people will still play gunless today. People also, real quick, the substitutions. Pristini is playing in for gunless for Chicago. Zero is playing for Jerd from London. And then, let's see if I can remember it. It is Enable playing for Pander for Seattle. So make sure you get those swaps out if you guys haven't already. Okay? So now let's go ahead and look at the best respawn teams. The best teams that are going to play well at hardpoint and in domination. Okay? Okay, so before the Pristini trade, we're looking at Chicago here. Chicago obviously faces on the slate. Chicago is a decent hardpoint team. I'd say right around average, if not above average. You're probably going to be more above average with Pristini. Gunless, they had a huge slump before the break 2 weekends ago, 3 weekends ago, 4 weekends ago. That was the last time they played, right? They had a huge slump where they just couldn't get their hardpoint game going. They only think that Pristini, because he is a faster-paced player, because he has a lot of... he just has a lot of experience with hardpoint. And I don't know if you guys know this. Fun fact, RC's is his twin brother. So there should be chemistry there. There should be their hardpoint game should pick up. Their hardpoint game is going to be above average. I like Chicago for hardpoint and respawn game types. I also... I dislike LAG. If you guys look here, I'm going to highlight the columns that we're going to be looking at. This is their KD, okay? So the KD is the most important thing. Very poor at hardpoint. Below average. LAG is, okay? They're going to be very low owned. Now, if you guys want to take a stab at them, of course, we know sports in general are very volatile. They only have to win one hardpoint and show up in one hardpoint for that to make a difference. So if you guys want to take a stab at a couple of these players, Blast is their best player. Same thing with Aqua. Aqua's good. And Decimate. Their best players for hardpoint. We go down to London. London is just so up and down, right? So we have one player that always shows up in hardpoint, and that is Wuskin. He is the man. He might get overlooked today just because of the closer matchup with Minnesota. New York Subliners, Mac Melts has been playing very well. Wuskin might come in a little underowned. I like Wuskin. Wuskin is one of my favorite players to watch because he plays AR and he's just so smart. We have another player here, Scraps, second best player. And then we have Raided's not playing. Jerd's not playing. Shawnee's going to be next on the list, okay? Zero pretty much sucks, okay? Zero's not that good of a player. All right, so if I had to target two players, it's going to be Wuskin and Scraps. All right, if we go down to Minnesota, Minnesota kills it at hardpoint, okay? Which is why they're going to be high-owned. They just kill it. GodRX is a beast. Assault is a beast. Alex is a beast. Silly is even good. ASIM is probably the only guy that I would fade from that team, okay? But these guys are beasts. I like all of them for respawn game types, and this team is going to be fairly chalky. So in cash, if you're going away from Minnesota, you're doing it wrong, okay? Minnesota is going to carry a lot of ownership, and they are really good at hardpoint domination. Okay, so if we scroll down here, New York Subliners above average for hardpoint, and with their addition of Mac Melts, if you guys have played Call of Duty the past 2 weekends ago, then you'll know that Mac Melts is one of the best players in the league now. Just based on respawn game type, he's been absolutely killing it. These stats are better. I think he's better for domination, actually. So if we go here, yeah, it's a 1.14. So yeah, 1.08 KD for hardpoint and a 1.14 for domination. Their best player. Another good player to take is Attach. Accuracy is decent. They're all pretty good. Temp is good. Zuma, they are all good. They're very balanced as well, but their standout player is going to be Mac Melts. Okay, it shows Mac on the sheet right here. We scroll down here, OGLA, not good at all at a hard point except for two players, and that's going to be Dashy and Slasher. Literally carry the entire team. Those are the best players. What is Pristini's role? That is unknown. We don't know yet, but we think it's going to be flex. Okay, we think the SMG roles are going to come from Scump. We think the RCDs is going to play more of a slaying role. We don't know yet. Okay, but Scump and RCDs are probably going to be the slayers. Formal's going to probably play more of a flex. Okay. Good question, though. That was a very good question. We want insight on that team. We don't know because they haven't been scrimming publicly yet because they just announced their new player, and they don't want teams to know, quite frankly. So it kind of stinks for DFS, but good strategy for them. For Paris, they are below average. For Hardpoint, let me find them. Yep, below average. But Paris did come up with an upset last 2 weekends ago, so they might be on the upswing. I like Dens from that team, 1.2 KD for them. And then the best player on the entire slate. However, he's coming from an underdog matchup. Octane. Octane is just a beast. However, they are throwing Enable into the matchup. Sorry. Enable is subbing in for Pander. Pander is absolutely terrible. Chuck, thank you so much for the subscription, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the channel. We have a lot more videos to come up. So, Octane, best player in the league. He is going to be under-owned, I do believe. He's not going to be a chalk player, a very high-owned player, I don't think. At least he shouldn't be. Yeah, again, Seattle is playing, I already forget. Seattle's playing, yeah, it's the subliners, and they're very good at hard points. So they should outslay these guys. He should have a bad KD. He should. But overall, the team, if they do upset, I do believe Octane, if they are going to upset and if they're going to beat them in hard points, it's going to be because of Octane. Okay? We know that Seattle stinks at search and destroy, so they literally have to win these hard points. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, and then Toronto's not playing. So to cover, let's go to domination. We covered hard points. So again, usually if they're good at hard point, they're good at domination. We can actually let's go ahead and look at search and destroy just because I'm curious. I don't really look at search and destroy just because it's not that relevant for DFS. Yeah, we're almost at 2,000 subs, guys. Thank you so much for the support. Yeah, good point. All right, so KD-wise, so Chicago, amazing at search and destroy. One of the best search teams on the planet. Envoy, Arcides, Scump, all very good. We look here at Dallas, not on the slate. Florida Snakes, not on the slate. Then we look at LAG. LAG is like they sucked at hardpoint and probably not good at domination. They're good at search and destroy. Usually that's the case. Usually if they're not good at hardpoint, they're good at search. All right, we go down here to London. They are it's a mixed bag. Scraps and Wuskins yet to carry the load for search and destroy. Very average, I'd say, at search. Okay, and then we're going to scroll down here to Minnesota. About average, if more so below average. It looks like GodRx is going to be their best search player. And then the New York subliners looks like they're going to be average as well. OGLA, more on the below average side. We're looking at Paris, below average, just in general. And then, like I said, guys, Seattle is horrible at search. Look at this, just red across the board. Even their best player, Octane, 0.88 KD. All right, so now let's scroll over to domination. So this is something to pay attention to. We want to target good headquarters and domination, not headquarters, hardpoint and domination teams. So we're looking at good KDs here. Chicago, like in their hardpoint game, above average. Let's scroll down here. LAG below average by a lot. Looks like they stink at domination. Wow, they really do. Look at this. Oh, you guys can't see behind my big head. Hold on. Let me scroll over just a little bit. All right, London, below average, except for Wuskin. Again, look at this. 0.85, 0.92, 0.91, 0.76, 0.87 KDs, and then a 1.31. That is called carrying the team. Wuskin, by far, one of my favorite players to watch in the league. And then we have Minnesota here, an above-average team at domination. New York subliners, looks like they're below average KD-wise. However, Mac should be picking that up. Am I looking at the right stats? Yeah, okay. And then Dashy here, a very good domination team, Dashy and Slasher, good KDs. Scroll down here, the Paris, below average, and then Seattle looks to be pretty average as far as their KDs. It looks like Octane, yet again, an absolute beast. All right, so my synopsis of the slate is this. For cash, play Minnesota. Don't overreact to the odds. If you like a player like Mac Melts and he's in a heavily favored matchup, throw him in there. Don't be afraid. If they go to a game 4, he should score a great amount of points. Okay, I wouldn't take it for cash. I wouldn't take underdogs, but I would take guys like Wuskin. I would take guys like in the Chicago matchup. I wouldn't be afraid because if they go to a game 4, they should all score a decent amount of points. For GPP, same difference, okay? Look at guys like Octane that are going to come from an underdog team. That you can tell from the stats that they're still a beast even when they lose, okay? That he still puts up a good KD. So if Octane is in a losing matchup, he's still going to put up a decent amount of points. He should anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and get to these questions here. Are there any teams that you would completely cross off for cash? I kind of answered that. I would completely cross off a couple of these teams. Let's go ahead and cross off LAG's probably not good for cash. Actually, they are not. They're not good for cash. OGLA, with the exception of Dashy and Slasher, are bad for cash. Paris, I would completely just write off. And then same thing with Seattle with the exception of Octane if you want to go that direction. So who do you like more, GodRx or Alex? GodRx hasn't been great these last 2 games. That is true, but I still like him. He is by far he's the best player. Him and the Assault are the best plays. I like both of them though. If you want to go the Assault route, I don't mind it. Best value play for under 8K. Good question. Under 8K. Actually, do you know what? I'll just sort by point per dollar. Under 8K, huh? Well, GodRx is definitely my favorite because he's at 8K. Alex is going to be one of my favorite plays. Yep, Alex. I'd say Alex. Alex and Scump kind of stand out to me. All right. Who would you be looking at for a 300-man GPP? I'd be looking for those low-owned teams. So the teams that are in a heavily favored matchup are going to probably carry less ownership. Can't talk. Chicago Huntsman, great team to pick from. If Paris can steal a hardpoint game from them, great low-owned team. A 300-man GPP, that's a little small. I'd probably stick to Huntsman. I'd look at probably Seattle or the Subliners, and maybe even Optic Gaming LA other than Slasher or Dashy, because if they do upset, then one of those other players has to step up. TJ is a good player. Not the TJ that works here for Daily Grind, the other TJ Haley. I feel like Temp is a real nice value at 7,600. Yes, he is. There's a bunch of good plays under 8K, and Temp is definitely one of them. All right, so I pretty much covered everything, guys. I mean, I see a lot of people getting in a little bit late. We're up to 54 viewers, so I'm sorry if I didn't cover everything that I should have in the amount of time that you joined. But you guys can go back and rewatch a video. It will be uploaded immediately to YouTube. Again, guys, appreciate all the support. If you guys want to ask any questions, I'll feel free to ask them. I'll stay a little bit longer to answer any of those questions. All right. And again, I appreciate all the subscriptions on this live stream. Again, appreciate the support, guys. And also, if you guys don't have a direction, if you guys are still confused, again, Patreon, $20 a month. We've had literally a $7,000 winner, a $5,000 winner literally just yesterday in CSGO and NASCAR. If you guys want a great community, we have a premium Discord where I give a lot of coaching and tips and strategy, and on top of our favorite leverage stacks on Patreon. Feel free. What's your lineup? I have a single entry GPP. I will say this. For my one off for this slate is Octane. I will say that. I like Octane a lot because he's going to carry lower than expected ownership and he's a beast. That's all I need to say. Just got here. What do you think about the team spot LAG? I don't like it. I think there's a lot of under-owned teams. As far as price tags go, let me go ahead and look here because I know there's a couple that stand out to me. It's a good question, though. I can cover the team spots. All right, so if we go to COD, we open up a new double up here. Right now, I'm winning in CSGO, so am I. I just looked. I'm actually, I'm winning about $400 right now. I tried not to get too excited on stream. Yeah, but CSGO is going very, very well. All right, so for value, the The Royal Ravens are down here at 1,400. Why are they 1,400? But they're minus 280. They're at my minus 280 chance to win. That makes 0 sense. London Royal Ravens should be an auto lock if you're playing cash. Subliners are still down there at 2,000, and then the Huntsmen are all the way up there. LAG is all the way up there at 2,400. I think they're an auto fade for cash for the team spot. Octane is not in my one lineup for cash. No, just my single entry GPP. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, David. Really, really appreciate that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I'll give it 1 more minute for any questions, and I'll go ahead and play some techno music to go ahead and get off soon. But guys, really do appreciate the support. Any last questions, feel free to spam them in the chat, and I will go ahead and wrap it up. It's going to be a fun weekend. We have another Call of Duty slate on Saturday, and then we have Championship Sunday, so both slates will be covered then. I'll put out a video on both those days. We're kind of lacking content as far as real sports goes. MMA, by the way, just announced a new fight. Wow, based it as soon as I said that. In a week, next weekend. So we'll be covering that with our MMA analyst, Kevin, so feel free to stay tuned for any content. Yeah, SkylarX he was actually one of the best in the league before the slump. Yep. And let's cash. Absolutely. I'll talk to you guys later. Again, have a great rest of your day. Let's cash.